Welcome to Mountains Made Low, where we help you encounter the love of God and live well in the modern world. I am Christine Reagan.
And I'm Dennis Mueller.
And I have a clear voice this week.
Clearer.
Gotta take what you can get. It's an imperfect world. It's full of sin. So we are in the month of August. Statistically, the time of year when people vacation the most. It's the most popular vacation month, not just in the U.S., but also around the world, in Europe. I mean, I think they take off like sometimes the entire month of August.
They know how to vacation.
And vacation over there.
We got it all wrong. I envy their schedules and their siestas and
their midday naps, their late night dinners.
Yeah, we're doing something wrong over here with our cowboy boots and
we're working ourselves to the bone.
Yeah.
We're dying young. Like it's all bad. It's not, we're not drinking wine enough.
Right. We don't have time to eat right, so we're overweight, out of
That's
shape.
True. We're just fat and tired.
And we just don't want to do anything for leisure. We're too tired for leisure.
I have some vacation statistics that I'm going to read to you. Tell me what you think about this. All right. So these are American travel statistics as of the summer 2026. In this calendar year, it is projected that Americans will spend $1.3 trillion on
gas.
Yeah, fuel is through the roof, but on travel. 60% of Americans consider a summer vacation to be essential.
Now, I mean, I do find that surprising because, like you said, only 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Smidge more than half.
Now, 59% say that they don't feel as though they have enough vacation time.
Well,
that sounds.
And I'm surprised by that too.
Yeah. The most common activity to do on summer vacation is what? What do you think is the most common activity to do on summer vacation?
Like in terms of going somewhere?
Yeah, like you go somewhere and then what do you do when you get there? Most of the time.
Oh, sightsee.
Restaurants. Going out to eat.
Well,
which is a big deal because every time
I don't need to go on vacation to do that. I think you need to make better choices with your vacation planning.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
really? Oh, no, I think going out to eat is a big part of it. Because I cook at home so much.
First off, if you're on vacation, there is no home, so you are eating out. So that's a given.
Well, I think some people with the Airbnbs now, they cook their own food.
Yeah, maybe.
Like when you go down to Delaware, you're not going out. You're cooking in the house, aren't you?
Yeah, well, it's a house. We own the house, so.
Yeah, well, it's
different.
Well, for those of us who don't own second homes, okay. 34% of the activity is beach or lake related. And where do you think was the top U.S. vacation destination?
Florida, Orlando.
No, that was close. But Las Vegas
really
was the top vacation destination.
That's disappointing.
And followed up by
there's so much more beautiful things to see in this nation than Las Vegas.
Could you be a little more positive?
I'm just saying.
You hate everything.
I'm just saying.
That's too low. That's not. Why would you go there? So Las Vegas, New York City, and Myrtle Beach are the top 3 domestic summer destinations in 2026.
Okay.
What do you think is the top international destination?
International?
For Americans.
For Americans? I would say Italy.
Cancun.
Oh, yeah. I could see that too.
Okay. That's enough.
Well,
right.
Okay.
Do you have anything to offer? Never.
I know
okay.
I don't. I don't. They're interesting statistics. But actually, this episode was really kind of spurred on because you were just coming off of a nice 10-day vacation in the mountains of Tennessee.
And you were, right before I was on vacation, you were on vacation.
This is true.
So did you have any kind of epiphanies on vacation?
I was not thinking about anything on vacation because I was vacationing. You went away on vacation
and I thought more than I normally
epiphany.
Do. Well,
right.
that's, people vacation differently.
Yes.
People really react.
You came back with a whole episode right now. That's not vacation for me.
Well,
I didn't even look at email.
So. And I worked the entire time, to be totally honest. So a question to think about as we get into what we're going to talk about today, which is this theology of vacation, which is also a little bit about leisure. It's also a little bit about rest. I think a question to think about.
And the importance of all of it.
Yeah. Well, the theology of, like, what's the reality? What's the mystery behind all of this thing? I mean, I'd love to meet the first people that were like, okay, we need to maybe not do what it is that we normally do. We need to do something else. Like, when did the first vacation get invented?
They're probably my ancestors.
Or you. Wouldn't you have been there? Okay, so a question to think about is, where do vacations fit into the Christian life? Because that's obviously what our podcast is about. We're not just talking about how many trillions of dollars Americans spend when they travel here and there. What does all of this have to do with the life of our faith? And what do vacations do for us spiritually, personally, relationally? We often think about theology as God, scripture, sacraments. It goes into areas of morality, and we talk about salvation. And sometimes I think we don't really know where to place vacations. And I think you also don't know where to place rest sometimes when it comes to the living out of our faith.
I really do think people can struggle a little bit with leisure. Some people embrace it wholeheartedly, but because we know that we're supposed to work, we're supposed to serve, we're supposed to evangelize, we're supposed to pray, and all that's just from a Christian perspective. We have to take care of our families, we're supposed to fulfill our responsibilities, and I think sometimes that we can come to believe that if we're not doing something productive, we're wasting time. Like if I'm not doing something, then something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to tell
It's
you,
like idle. Like I'm just being idle. Like who
yeah,
wants to? It's like a car that's stalled out.
but I
or
do
something.
love me a good time waster. A good time waster.
What is your ultimate time waster? Video games.
No.
Okay.
Like yesterday I was off following my daughter's wedding. I took Monday off, and I was a little inspired because I love doing genealogy. I love doing all that research and stuff. And so you know what? I'm gonna jump in and tackle Jack's family. And all I had was the names of his grandparents from the Prayer of the Faithful to start from.
And you're like, oh,
And
it's on.
and I
This is like a puzzle that needs solving.
I went in and started with obituaries, and that made connections and everything. I researched his family back 8 generations, and I did that over 15 hours sitting at my kitchen table from 8:30 in the morning to 11:30 at night, and I was content as can
And
be.
you have the nerve to critique how I vacation?
I was
Really?
on a vacation, but that was what I was doing with
This
my
is
leisure
how you
time.
enjoy your day
I was
off.
enjoying my
This
leisure
is how I
time.
vacation.
Right.
Okay. So you got to the bottom of it then.
Well, almost. That was just one side of the family. I still have his dad's side of the family to do.
Oh my gosh.
It's crazy.
Thank God you're dragging it out. You can have a little more fun in the future that you can look forward to. I think that's great. You've actually ruined like family crests and seals for me because you told me about how like when you go in these stores, it's not real
Bucket
or
shops,
there's
yeah.
all these things. So I haven't enjoyed one since. I've looked at them and I'm like, Dennis would probably say it's not legit. And so we don't even.
Well, I mean, they're legit. They're just not legit for you because you have the same last name. So
Okay.
you
Well,
can
still.
still enjoy them. But
Well,
have your own
I
design.
want it to be true. I don't
Well,
want to be. I don't want to live a lie.
Well, I went and had my own design. So it's all good.
Oh, so you just made it up then?
No,
You made up your
I
own.
registered it and everything. It's all good.
So if I wanted to, I could draw something and say this is my new. This is like the Reagan
Well,
family
it's got to be
crest.
within the confines and the restrictions of heraldry. Yeah, if you follow the heraldic rules, yeah, you could do it.
Say that word again.
Heraldric.
Heraldric.
Herald.
Oh my gosh! Now I'm having a hard time. Okay, we're never going to get this done. And so I agree with you. I think there's this idea that to be a really holy Christian, you have to be doing something constantly, and especially doing churchy and spiritual things.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something like sitting on a beach and drinking lemonade, then you might be thinking, gosh, I should be doing something more spiritual, or I should be volunteering somewhere. I'm not serving. Or you think, gosh, I could be evangelizing these people on the beach.
Said no one ever.
No. And frankly, those people probably could use a little bit of evangelization. But I know that sometimes we might be challenged by that. Like, gosh, I'm not doing anything. So today we're going to be talking about the role of a vacation and leisure in the Christian life, and how I think it's very good for us to remove ourselves from our regular day-to-day and enter into a different physical, perhaps, emotional, and spiritual place. I think a vacation shouldn't just be an escape from life, especially the Christian life, but rather an expression of it. And we'll kind of circle back to that at the end. But I think that's what people think about. I have to escape. And I'm like, I don't think that's I don't think that's where the theology of vacation lies. Right?
Yeah.
How can I escape my life?
Yeah.
No, that's not what it's about. I think we want to have a tone of life that expresses itself in such a way, whether I'm at home or whether I'm away. And so that's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah, and Scripture has a lot to say on this. I mean, Scripture really sets the tone for the importance of resting. And it gives us a very, very interesting perspective, because we've talked about this much more in depth in an episode that we did on the Sabbath several months ago. But in that episode, we talked about how Genesis tells us that God rested. And in the second chapter of Genesis, we hear that on the seventh day, God rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done. And so God isn't resting because he's exhausted. He's not resting because he needs to take a break. He's resting because he is contemplating the work that he set out to do. He's taking the time to actually just be and to enjoy the work that he recognized as being good,
And it's
right?
complete. It's
And it's
full.
complete,
It's full.
right?
Yeah.
So now he's sitting back and he is enjoying what he has created. And this divine pattern really establishes this beautiful rhythm of work and rest for us as human beings, which I think we don't pay as much attention to as we really need to. Genesis goes on to say that God saw everything he had made and it was good, and he acknowledges his own goodness in his creation. He's recognizing this beautiful blessing that creation is. And just thinking about today, I mean, for you who are listening, was there at any point in the day where you just kind of stepped back from the chaos and the hustle and the bustle and your to-do list and sat back and said, took a look at everything that's going on around you and recognized the blessings that God was pouring forth on you throughout the day?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for most of us, we get up in the morning and we steamroll through our day, and at the end of the night, we get ready for day two. Our head hits the pillow, and we've never even thought about God because we've been too busy to do that. I think rest,
And we think that's our primary responsibility.
yeah,
And I think that's the problem. We don't know where God fits into everything else that we have to do.
yeah,
And he comes last, and then he falls off the list entirely.
yeah.
But it reminds me of in the book of Daniel where it says, all waters bless the Lord, right? Sun and the moon bless the Lord. Fire and heat bless the Lord.
I
It's like
like
this
that passage,
canticle
yeah.
of praise. And it reminds me of what it is that we're called to in our rest,
That's
in
one
our
of my
leisure.
favorite passages in the Liturgy of the Hours when
Yeah.
it comes up. Yeah.
Psalm 23 speaks about the importance of renewal and refreshment, things that a vacation can provide to us. And it says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. And I think this is really when we're getting into what is a vacation supposed to be about? It's not just an escape. I have to get away from my life. No, you need to take the time to be renewed, to be refreshed, and to have your soul restored and reinvigorated.
You know what really caught me in that passage is when you said he makes me.
He makes me.
He
He
makes
makes me
me.
take a vacation.
Because I do.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can be resistant to that, to even resting. And like again, this is vacation certainly, but we're talking about even
It's
just
all one
rest
thing.
or leisure throughout our day. God makes us do that because he needs to. I just
Well, he
think
makes
about
us need sleep. Do you ever think about that?
Yeah.
He makes us like we can't. If you could go 24 hours a day and not need sleep, would you do it?
No,
Why?
because I enjoy it.
And there's a big part of that too, right? But also, like I think we recognize that it's good for us. There's something about this
Yeah.
beginning and ending where we know, well, I don't want to live like that because I don't think I was supposed to live like that.
Right.
Sorry, you were
Right.
saying.
No, I was just saying, like, I like the idea that he makes us do that because as a parent, there's a lot of times when I have to make my kids do what's good for them because if they were left up to their own devices, they would choose not to. And I think we fall into that same boat. I think it's very easy for us to choose not to make time, choose not to rest, to choose, like I'm driving home from work, I have time. And so, like, how about well, we've talked about we can do prayers during this time, but how about you just reach out to that friend and have a conversation for the next 30 minutes in traffic,
Yeah.
who you haven't talked to in a while.
How about you just text Christine back knowing that she's running late and you're like, no, I'm going to go 48 hours without actually responding to her. Maybe we could do that while she's in the car trying to get to where she needs to go.
You could do that too.
Yeah, you could do that.
When you look at the person of Jesus, he's doing a lot of stuff. He's healing people. He's teaching. He's bearing the apostles. And Jesus actually, in Mark's gospel, says something that I love. He says, come away by yourselves to a lonely place and rest a while. Like even he knows the importance of rest because he recognizes the value of work, but he says, like, all right, there's a time for work, and now there's a time for you to rest.
But also the come away. Like, how does that hit you? The come away. It's not just go sit over there. It's come away
Yeah,
with me.
to
And that's where
leave
the
stuff
vacation, I think,
behind.
kind of comes into it.
Right.
Like, maybe if we can, and I'm not saying that everybody can financially do it, but to just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
It might be for a walk. I don't care what it is, but go away somewhere for a purpose, for a deep spiritual purpose.
Yeah, and Jesus did that all the time. I mean, how often did he just leave everything behind and slip off into the desert up the mountains and everybody's wondering where he's at? He needed that time in order just to refresh and rejuvenate himself in order to be able to continue to do his work. And I think sometimes I think people who feel like they're in the rat race are people that
It's a
maybe
really funny movie,
struggle
by the way.
with this, who really struggle with this idea of taking time to rest, and the value of all that stuff.
Let's talk about what the church says. So the Catholic Church does not see leisure as some kind of moral failure. And I think that's where the human condition kind of comes in. It's like, no, you've sat too long. Even our watches now, well, you don't have a watch, but if you have an Apple Watch, it tells you to stand up. It's like you've been sitting too long. And I know that they're doing it for healthy purposes, but I'm like, why don't you stop telling me what to do? Well, it wants you to meet your like daily exercise goals. So there's the movement, there's the exercise, and then there's standing. But it knows when you've been sitting, and even your watch is like, all right, hop to it. Let's go. We have so many things pulling at us, and we're not allowed to rest because something is beeping or buzzing or telling us to do something. And so the church reminds us that this is not a moral failure, and it's in the catechism itself. So the catechism talks about this. It does relate it to Sunday, I think, most directly. But when it comes to Sunday, it says that Sunday is a day that should provide adequate rest and leisure. And it talks about taking time for family life, for culture, for social engagement, for obviously our religious lives to be nurtured and strengthened.
Through the Eucharist.
Yes, obviously.
Well,
but just in general, like it starts with the Eucharist, everything then flows from the Eucharist. It knows how holistic the approach has to be so that the whole of the human person feels like we're thriving and not just participating in that rat race that you're talking about. So the catechism is really saying, take a break in a much more theological way. And I see in this language that the church understands that leisure has a purpose, and that purpose is for the good of our humanity. And so the purpose of Sunday, I think, sets the tone for all leisure. Vacation, leisure, is about worship, because that's the primary goal of my life, right? Worship. He makes me lie down. Why? So that I can worship in tip-top shape. Is that not the goal of life? So that everything I do is done in a spirit of worship. Yes, I'm supposed to worship on Sundays, but also what happens on Sunday is supposed to go into my everyday. It's supposed to sustain me throughout the week. And so the goal of my life, if the goal of Sunday is to worship, then the goal of vacation, the goal of leisure, the goal of rest and renewal should also be worship oriented.
I understand where you're coming from. I think it's a good perspective. I don't think it's one that most people are familiar with. I don't think most people think that way. Not that they shouldn't. I think that this is the whole reason why you're highlighting this particular topic is in order to call attention to that. And there's certainly the biblical basis for that, because when you go back to Genesis, I mean, that day is set aside really for rest, which is, code for worship. Why we have to remember to keep holy the Sabbath day, because we are in the midst of worshiping, God. So that's a big part of it. But I got to tell you, like where I struggle with this a little bit is for those people who, because of their poverty, this isn't an option.
Correct. Which is why I did mention, like, I know that this is not financially feasible for everybody. So I think this spirit of it's like a theology of vacation, because it's like a spirit of vacation.
Yeah.
And I don't think you have to travel 10 hours to Tennessee like I did to be able to do that. So you can take if the goal of something like time set aside, leisure, taking a vacation, whatever, because that can look you can call it a staycation. I don't care what you call it. But what is God trying to bring about in me? Because I think we can go on vacation and not do anything that's related to this. Is this going to make me worship better? Really?
Yeah.
If that's the goal of the Christian life, then it's also the goal of my vacation to some point. And if that's my goal, well, I don't have to travel. I don't have to have the financial means to be able to do that. I can do that better at home. I can do that better in a variety of creative ways to remove myself from just the work that I'm doing. It doesn't have to be financially viable for you to travel to be able to do this.
But I do worry about it because some people don't even have the luxury of even a staycation because, I think about that single parent who is working 9 to 5 and then comes home, feeds the kids real quick because they have to run out to a part-time job just in order to keep food on the table. And if anybody's kind of stuck in a cycle of a rat race, it's individuals like that. And sometimes, but at the same time, I think they're individuals that really need to hear the message of the importance of rest, because even though there might be a poverty of vacation and leisure in their lives, I think that sometimes we need to try to be as deliberate as possible. And it's going to take a little bit of creativity in order to work that stuff in. And so, so maybe you're not going to be able to pull away for an entire week. You might not even be able to pull away for a day over the weekend. But maybe if you can steal, even if it's just 20 minutes here, just to sit down with the kids and just be with them.
Yes. That's the thing. Like, what's spiritually helpful, what's relationally helpful.
Yeah.
That's why I'm tying leisure and vacation together, because it's going to look different for everybody. But I think the principle is the same. I mean, people can throw a lot of obstacles into, well, this is why I can't go to mass on Sunday. This is why I can't do this. And maybe they would say, well, financially, I just can't do it. It's like, well, there are certain things in this life that are worth doing. Yeah. And you don't need to take a week and go down the shore. But you do have to worship on Sunday. Yeah. And if you do have to worship, then maybe there are other spiritually and sacramentally based things that you also have to find time to be able to do.
And I think that's an important message to share, because how often do I hear, like, we go on vacation and when we vacation from God when we're away.
Well, that's,
right? Like, okay, we went on vacation and, like, did you go to mass? Nah, no, we didn't go to mass. We were on vacation.
I can't tell you how many people say, when I vacation from everything.
Right, vacation for everything.
I hope God doesn't vacation that way. That would be bad news. You got the universe falling out of the sky. That's not great.
But if anything, I think that there's an opportunity when you are away and you are experiencing the joy, the rest, the refreshment. Turning your attention and your gaze towards God can certainly make you realize how blessed you are, and you can really begin to take in the beauty of the mountain air or the sea breeze and all of these other things that are just transpiring around you. I mean, in the harriedness of our lives, I mean, when was the last time that you actually spent some time just gazing and looking upon your children? If you got little ones, I mean, I miss those days. They're all out and about, but even now, just kind of, just having that opportunity just to gaze on them as, my youngest is in his late teens, everybody else is in their 20s, and just to be able to just to gaze and just marvel at all that stuff. In the fast pace of a typical day in life, a lot of times those moments slip by, and I think that those moments can be so significant when we make time for them to happen. So, like, again, even just stealing away just 10, 15 seconds just to allow yourself to enjoy that moment. I think that that's important. And we can pepper our entire day with that. And I don't know about anybody else, but when I have those moments, they are uplifting. They bring a smile to my face. And if anything, they make, a lot of times when I'm doing the tediousness of it, it breaks up the monotony for me.
Mm-hmm. And I would say that from that, ultimately, there's a correlation between that and worshiping better. Yeah. Giving praise and glory to God better than you did before. Sure. Because that's how it's relevant to the Christian life. Right,
because I'm stepping out of the busyness so that I'm not taking things for granted.
So Thomas Aquinas, he does, you might think about Aquinas, gosh, he was always probably so serious. Sometimes I look at Thomas's life and I'm like, I don't know how friendly the two of us would have been necessarily. I don't know if we would have gotten along. But he does actually have some stuff to say about recreation. And I don't know about you, but when I think about fun, I think about Aquinas. So
who would?
And this is actually one of those places where, like, medieval theology actually becomes surprisingly practical. And Aquinas recognizes that human beings need some element of recreation, and that can look different to everybody. But he compares it to rest for the body. And he says, if you're constantly engaged in serious activity, that becomes very mentally and spiritually fatiguing. And recreation restores you. And that's a good for the human person all around. That's
And
a
you're talking
genuine
about
human good.
you're talking about the guy who wrote the Summa. So if there was anybody who was taking serious activity seriously, it was this guy. So when he steps out and he just again recognizes the importance of rest and leisure and the effect that that has on the body, he's speaking from experience.
Yeah. He says that the most important things in life are those that are done for their own sake. And so I believe that rest, relaxation, leisure, and what's typically included maybe in a vacation really does fit into this category. It doesn't have to accomplish anything outside of itself. Some things are good simply because they're good. I would argue that the Mass is good simply because it's good. I don't go to Mass and then I can't present to the world, oh, well, this is how the Mass is quantified in my life. It's just such a high quality activity. It's good for its own sake. I would argue that a vacation or leisure, if you like to read a book and that's your leisure time a couple times a week, it doesn't have to have a good outside of itself. It's sufficient to just say, this is really good. This is good for my humanity. And I think there's something really divine about that. I think there's something really holy about that. So we're not just talking about leisure, we're talking about holy leisure or holy time. And wouldn't it be nice if families took holy vacations? Because you're talking about they spend some time getting away from God and they don't worship. Well, what shouldn't, if we're called to holiness in the whole of our life, wouldn't our vacation be called to holiness too?
Yeah, well, I mean, just from a practical perspective, I mean, in the busyness of our lives, I think I hear parents talk about all the time about how hard it is to get everybody together to pray because everybody's fragmented. And I'm experiencing that now.
Sports ruins everything.
I'm experiencing that now on the back end of this because my kids are older and everybody's kind of off doing their own thing. And we're not always together to do stuff. And so on the vacation, when everybody's together, there's a real opportunity there for us. Okay, like we're all together. Let's pray together. Let's pray for one another together. Let's do the rosary together. All of those things kind of present themselves. As a parent, if I'm not the one directing it, it's not going to happen. Because again, in their own busyness of things, and even when they're on leisure, looking for stuff to do, when they're on vacation, it can very easily slip into, well, we're busy on vacation now.
Yeah.
And so
we have our vacation schedule.
Yeah. So it's great to be able to plan for some holiness outside of Mass when you're away on vacation. I think it's important.
There's a German scholar, there's a German philosopher and thinker who his name is it Joseph? Is that how you would say that?
Yes, it would be Joseph.
You wouldn't say Joseph. Okay.
No, it's Joseph.
So Joseph Piper, and 20th century guy, and he wrote this work called Leisure, the Basics of Culture. And his basic concern was that modern society has become obsessed with work, right? That rat race, that busyness. He says that we measure everything by productivity. Think about the last time you met like a new acquaintance. Now, Dennis is probably going to disagree and say, well, I've never had that experience, Christine, but let's try it anyway.
I don't have any acquaintances.
But even in my own conversations, like if you're meeting somebody new, you introduce yourself. What's the second question that kind of comes to mind? Like, oh, I'm Christine. What's your name? What do you often ask somebody next?
When was the last time you prayed? No.
This is why nobody talks to you. This is like, oh no. When was the last time you went to confession? When was the last time? What was the last mortal sin that you committed?
I think the typical thing would be like, when you're introducing yourself, you always maybe say a little bit about who you are, what you do.
What you do.
Right.
Right. And I think, and I don't.
Because we define ourselves by what we do.
And that's my point. That's my point. And so I think that just says something about our culture where it's like, what's your name and how do you benefit me? How do you benefit society? And that is just, I think it's such an example of the cultural problem that we have, where we want to know, we're maybe eager to tell people how valuable we are by what we do. I might be making a lot of assumptions. I see these things happening, and don't start with me. Don't start with me. Somebody else can relate to this. How many times do people ask you what you do when you meet with them? Oh, what do you do? What's your job? What do you?
It comes up from time to time.
Right.
Yeah.
So non-committal.
I'm trying.
No, I know.
I'm trying to
you get my point, though,
I'm
right?
with so many people that they already know what I do.
We'll go back 30
But the problem
years.
is because they know what you do, they throw everything at you when it comes to like we'll be out somewhere. Or like, all right, Dennis, lead us in prayer. Oh, Dennis, do this. Oh, Dennis, do that. And I'm like, I'm dealing with other things.
But like, think about your kids who just graduated from college. I'm sure people ask them like, "Oh, you graduated college. What are you
What are you
going to
doing?
do? What are you
Yeah.
going to do?"
What are you
And
going to do?
it's just all about work. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's all about work.
No, and I agree with you. And I think it's unfortunate because, like, unlike our European and South American counterparts, we don't know how to rest.
Right. And so Piper says that the problem is that we've forgotten how to simply receive things in reality.
I love that.
Yeah. And so we qualify ourselves and others by what we do for a living in particular. Like, how are you most productive in society? How can you benefit me? How utilitarian are you? And I'm not claiming that we do this individually. It might not be everybody's experience, but I do see us as a society doing what Piper is suggesting here.
At the cathedral, there's this Deacon Chike. He gave this beautiful homily this morning on taking versus receiving.
Did he really? Oh,
Yeah,
good.
and
I'm
it
glad
was,
he got my email.
well, it was. I mean, it was good because I think sometimes we go to work. You know, we're always doing something. We're always taking something. We're always doing something. But when was the last time we actually sat back and allowed ourselves just to receive,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where we just have our hands open to receive and our heart is open to receive. I think sometimes in the busyness, it becomes very, very difficult for us to receive anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we are always on the go. We're trying to get something done. We're so busy doing that we don't take the time to be.
Right.
And being is the receiving part of it.
Yeah. And with the use of technology now, we can't even be anywhere without somebody being able to get to us or with us being reminded about work, or we can always work because we're on the go. It's technology really ruins this for us. I can't even record a podcast without knowing that I have text messages coming in. I can feel it buzzing and buzzing and buzzing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to kind of be in the moment when you're thinking about, how is this group text? Number one, how do I get off this group text? And how is it developing? And I
Delete.
get to read like 20 texts in a half hour or so.
That's why I didn't reply to your text yesterday, because I was home all day. I just took the phone and I just threw it. I'm like, I'm not going to look at it.
And I didn't even remind you about it.
And I think sometimes because when you're working, again, you're constantly doing something, that doing versus receiving stuff. But leisure really gives you the opportunity just to sit back and to look. And when you're allowing yourself just to kind of take in that beauty, what you're really doing is you're receiving. You're taking in, right? You're receiving.
Mm-hmm.
And so looking leads to listening, which leads to thinking, which leads to contemplation, which can lead to joy. And I think that we can miss the blessings around us when we don't take time to rest, to vacation, to engage in some type of leisure, because we don't really take the time to stop long enough to recognize and receive the goodness of what God has given to us. And that's hard for us because we're very good at working. We are very good at accomplish things, but we are not very good at receiving the goodness of others, the goodness that God wants to give us,
Mm-hmm.
especially with others. I mean, how often does somebody want to do something for you where they're offering something for you to receive, and you turn around and say, "No, I got it. I'm good."
Yeah.
Right?
I don't need you.
Yeah,
That's really what you're saying.
right,
I don't need you.
because we're determined to, pull up our own bootstraps and to bulldoze ahead. We're good. We've got this.
If we could have these moments be sanctified in our lives. I mean, imagine sitting on the beach and just listening to the waves. You don't have to make the waves productive. They are in and of themselves. You don't have to monetize the waves. You can't, despite what beach tags will tell you. You just need to exist in their beauty, exist in their glory. And you don't have to go to the shore for a week to be able to do that. But what if you just got up in the morning and listened to the morning rustling, just heard the trees in the morning, or you watch the sunset, all of these things? I mean, what did you say? You said looking leads to listening,
I think
which leads
listening,
to thinking,
thinking, and then thinking
to contemplation,
and that's
and then joy leads you to praise, to adore,
Mhm.
to worship, to glorify, all of these things. If you are able to get away, I think there's something good that happens from getting away from your routine. You get perspective. Spend 6 months dealing with work problems, with home problems. You're sitting in traffic, you're answering emails, you're fulfilling deadlines. And then you sit in the mountains or you put your feet in the sand. You look at the stars, and suddenly you realize that your problems aren't the entire universe. I'm not trying to minimize the problems that we have.
No, they're
We
real.
do have real problems, yeah.
Yeah.
But creation reminds us that we're part of something much, much bigger. and that we're not in control of everything. And I think that's one of the hardest lessons for us to learn as humans. That's, I think, what maybe hit me when I was in the mountains. And we were so high up there. I mean, it took us 10 minutes just to get to the cabin that we were staying in. And we were like at tree line of some of these Smoky Mountains. And I had that feeling. I said, oh, my problems are like the world is pretty big. My problems seem a lot smaller up here. The world is much bigger. Not only are my problems much smaller, but I'm a lot smaller. And that changed how I went to mass that weekend. That changed how I prayed with Sean. That changed how I prayed with the kids. It was just and frankly, maybe it could have happened differently at home. I could have had a similar epiphany, but it didn't. It happened way out there.
Right,
and
because
way
God
up
wanted
there.
you to receive something
Yeah.
while you were out there to kind of get you back on track.
And so if you can get out of a routine, I think it can serve a holy purpose if
Yeah.
that's God's will for your life.
Or even just changing up the routine.
Yeah, take this theology and then apply it to your situation in life.
Even the Pope vacations, right? I mean, he's got a summer residence, and this isn't anything new. This isn't something modern. I mean, popes have been doing this for centuries, going off to their summer residence, which is about an hour drive from Vatican City. And Pope Leo doesn't only spend his summers there, but he also spends parts of the week throughout the year. Like, he takes time to go swimming, to play tennis, and to enjoy himself.
Say it again.
Regularly.
I'm sorry, what does he play?
Listen, you're lucky I said it. But he's leading by example here. I mean, he really wants people to know the true meaning of leisure. And I think he's warned us often enough about this culture that prioritizes work efficiency. I mean, I think that was the whole purpose of his encyclical on the dignity of the human person
Yes.
and AI.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much an encyclical on AI as it was about the dignity of the human person. The human person can't be prioritized for efficiency. So, I mean, he said, without a proper balance between work, leisure, and rest, families are weakened and young people struggle to develop a sense of responsibility. Now, who would have thought that it's not work that teaches you a sense of responsibility, but it's that idea of being able to rest and to relax and to leisure, that's what teaches you about responsibility.
Going back to that German author, Piper, he described leisure as not the attitude of one who intervenes, but of one who opens himself up.
And there goes that receptivity again, right?
So leisure in this sense is not just about taking a break and not doing anything. It's not laying around and being lazy. And that's what, that kind of that devil on our shoulder can tell us. You're just lazy. You're taking too much time, or you don't need to do this, or what will other people think of you? There's another scholar, actually a scholar of a scholar. Isn't that fun? There's a Father O'Higgins who's a professor over in Rome. And he said that Piper refers to getting out of the things that we have to do, what he would technically call servile work, to rediscover the existing order and purpose of things, persons, and God. He continues that we have to rediscover the joy of existence as our fundamental motive for rejoicing. And this is what Piper means by leisure. It's much closer to what we would call contemplation. Now, this is the shift. I mean, have we not? This is not just about, I got to get away. No, I need to get out of myself to receive and to contemplate.
Yeah. Contemplation is a struggle. I mean, if we're talking about the disciplines of prayer, to be contemplative is something that every person struggles with.
How could you define
Well,
contemplation
I would
for us?
the beauty of contemplation is you just sit and you rest in the presence of God. Rest. Like I kind of equate it when I'm just, my wife and I were just sitting together. Maybe we're just sitting outside and we're just in each other's company. We could be on that beach, just sitting next to her. We're not saying a word to each other, but we're just being in each other's presence. It's allowing God to love you because he wants you to be able to receive something. And so for people who really struggle with contemplation, what I would encourage you to do is maybe to use that imagination that God gave you, because he gave it to you for a purpose. And so maybe just vision God being there with you. Like a lot of times I'll picture myself, maybe sitting next to Jesus and resting on him the same way that I like my kids used to rest on me when they were little. And again, not saying anything, just resting, and allowing God to love you in that moment and allow yourself to be loved. That's the beauty of contemplation. It's a good place to be. because you're just being.
And then you're comfortable there,
Yeah.
because it might say whatever, everything you just said might actually be really uncomfortable for some people
Yeah.
because they don't know what to make of that. But when you're there, I would say
Yeah.
you're going to want to stay.
Oh yeah, you'll definitely want to stay, and you want more of it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think we just need to start asking ourselves different questions instead of how much can I do today, or what can I fit in, or are we going to keep to the schedule? Are we going to be on time? What will awaken your soul, and what would help you think about the nature of being? And if you don't recognize that language, what helps you to think about life? Why you're here, what you're doing here, why God made you, the purpose of life. What would help you think about the goodness of God?
Yeah, and to share that too. I mean, if as a parent, if I'm sitting on the beach and I allow myself to be enamored by the beauty of the crashing waves and the birds and the cool, salt air, all of those things, and I just give expression to that joy, to that beauty in front of my children. I'm being a witness. And if anything, that's going to spark their curiosity and hopefully maybe a conversation. Like, "Well, Dad, what did you mean by that?" And then just giving them the opportunity, or as a parent, maybe inviting them, calling their attention to it, right, to the beauty of God's creation in that moment, or the presence of God, acknowledging God's greatness.
Yeah.
I think those things are so important, when it comes to rest and leisure.
Piper says, unless we regain the art of silence and insight, the ability for non-activity, unless we substitute true leisure for our hectic amusements, we will destroy our culture and ourselves. What we're not saying is that you can't have vacations that are full of amusement, daring sporting events, and all sorts of things. I mean, we went to Dollywood. We went on a ton of roller coasters. We had very, very busy days. But I do think that we were able to find a balance of activity
It's a
and
balance,
inactivity. We rode the fastest wooden roller coaster in the world.
Good for you.
Wouldn't catch you on that thing.
Wouldn't catch me on it. Nope. Especially wooden.
What do you think all this has to do with relationship? Because that's a big focus for you. What does this do for the person and the family?
Because I think it's easy for all of this stuff to get lost in the busyness of our lives. Just the idea of us taking time to be together, to be deliberate about the time that we spend together. And again, not accomplishing anything, not, like, here's today's to-do list while we're on vacation, but just being together. I know when my family goes on vacation, we'll look for opportunities for us just to kind of maybe just sit down and just play games together, just to laugh and tease one another, to do a little competing, maybe even a little, friendly arguing and banter back and forth. There's a real opportunity for us just to simply be together. And that's why I go down the shore. I mean, I hate the beach, but that's where I can't stand it. I've never, since I was a little kid, I can't stand it. But
did something happen to you in the water?
Probably. I mean, I could think of a whole ton of things that happened, down the shore that we won't get into now. That's a whole nother. Give me a beer and I'll let the floodgates open. But when we talk about like this, like I go because it's an opportunity for me to be with my family. Even though I'm like,
even though you live with them,
even though I live with them, right? And I know that, like, I'm not going to enjoy this as much as them. But for me to be there and just have that opportunity to be with them is important to me.
So what is the Mueller family vacation game? Like, what do you guys play?
We do a lot of dice games, card games type things.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there has to be a winner. None of these games where, like, nobody wins.
Somebody's got to win.
Someone has to win. There has to be a top dog.
There's got to be something. and that's the entertaining part of it, as you kind of see.
So getting to the heart of this whole conversation, why do vacations and leisure and just times that we're getting away from our regular everyday, why are they relevant to the Christian mission? And it's because I think we're not just productive machines. We are called to love. That's our primary vocation. And if I'm constantly exhausted, well, I'm not going to be very good at loving. I'm not going to be able to love the people around me. I'm not going to be able to love the people who the rest of the world is busy not loving.
Because I'm too exhausted to do it.
Taking the time to relax, to be renewed, to engage in things that have no good outside of themselves and to contemplate, that really allows us to return to our vocation with a greater understanding and sense of love.
Yeah.
I mean, we should take time for, Aquinas might say, recreation. Maybe Pope Leo would talk more about leisure and taking a vacation if he can. Why? So that I can love better when I go home. I can learn something about love when I'm away, and I can love better when I go home. That's what this is all about.
Like, not everything in life is good, but we live in God's goodness all the time. And so I think this is where leisure can be an important step in coming to know who God is, who we are, who others are, namely a child of God created in his image. And this relationship we're called to live, this beautiful relationship between God and man, because this is how we become rightly ordered. And the rightly ordered Christian, the rightly ordered individual, gives praise and adoration to God. My soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. That's what Mary says, right?
Yeah.
Because she's in a right relationship with God. And she took time to experience the fullness of God's presence and what he was giving to her, what he wanted her to receive in that moment. She was open to all of that.
To conclude here, there is a theology professor at Mount Marty University, which is a real place. It's a Benedictine college in South Dakota. And he says this. He says, the highest act of leisure, again, he's pairing this with the Catholic tradition. The highest act of leisure is worship. It's the highest act of leisure because it's the type of act that combines our gratitude, our reception of the gift of life, and our festivity all in one. As leisure trains me to be a creature at home in this universe, I am slowly realizing that I am not the center of that universe. And that quote, thank God, it was divine providence that I came across that, because I was like, oh, that's what I'm trying to get at when it came to my time just away. And I would add to that, it's not just about realizing that I'm not at the center of the universe, but that I'm not meant to stay here. I'm a creature, yes, at home, but this is not meant to be my home long term.
Yeah.
And so there should be something about your renewal, your rest, your leisure, your vacation, whatever it is, that has you thinking about heaven. And if you're on a vacation, it could have been extravagant. You could have gone to, Fiji and done whatever. If you didn't think about heaven on that vacation, there was something missing. Now, should we be doing that every day in our daily lives? Of course.
Absolutely.
But what we can learn away, because maybe we have time to think about it. Now we're thinking about it more in our day to day. So I also think that we have to realize, oh, what a beautiful place God has created for me, right? What's more beautiful than the Smoky Mountains? Well, probably something, but for me, that was good enough. Heaven's more beautiful than the mountains. So this theology of leisure is about the ultimate things, and there's nothing more ultimate than heaven itself. That's what leisure, that's what worship, that's what all of this should do for us. Yeah. Point us towards heaven.
So if you haven't taken a vacation yet, and
you have a couple more weeks.
You got a couple more weeks.
Not even.
But if you happen to be going on vacation in the next couple of weeks, or maybe you have one planned for the fall or something, just keep this in the back of the mind.
Find time to think about heaven.
Find time just to think about the goodness of God, all that he's doing for you, and heaven. Yeah.
All right. We will see you next week.
All right. God bless.